quote Doctor Strange, we're in the endgame now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Attack on Titan final season discussion videos. They were here to talk all about episode 12, guides. But before we get into that, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here, and without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this thing. And once again, just a quick reminder, we are still very much in the Injured Boy arc. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the most recent Dr. Stone video. Long story short, I can't use my one arm, so editing is going to be very lax for the next little bit. So I'm going to try to not edit this as much as I can. So you might hear pauses where you usually didn't, so that I can have a sip of water as an example. Delicious. Anyway, so Titan. This week definitely kind of cements Eren to me as a character who I realized that maybe I shouldn't be rooting for as much as I did previously. I watched this kid grow up, you know, like that's the thing. Like I watched this dude grow into the man. I watched him. He came back. Like he left for a season and came back a man. But you know, he was a boy when he left. And now he's a man. But he is, especially in light of, shall we say, recent events in My Neighbors to the South. God, this episode hit different. Like, all I could think of was when they were shouting, like, Shinzo Sasageo! I'm like, do not use my man's line and misappropriate it for this nonsense. Like, do not use Shinzo Sasageo in light of bombing and attacking your military, attacking essentially your government from the outside. God, that looked really familiar. I'm not going to say what it is, but you know what it is. It certainly looked familiar. This might have hit different for manga fans who already saw it and that went, oh, this does look familiar, doesn't it? And I'm not talking about the manga. But yeah, if you know what I'm talking about, good for you. But yeah, as a Canadian, I mostly just watch this like, oh, yikes, that looks familiar. I can't imagine what watching this as an American must have felt like. But yeah, definitely this week I was like, oh, I don't like this. This is very much a coup happening. This is very, But the thing is, like, again, a part of me wants, like, again, as a fictional story, right? Separating fiction from reality, which a lot of Titan fans seem to have a hard time doing. But separating fiction from reality, Eren is still a character I kind of want to root for, even though I shouldn't. Because, again, I've been with him. I get it. But at the same time, he's done so much and come so far. And in the end, it didn't even matter. Sorry. But watching Eren turn into this sort of villain, right? The coat, putting on the coat. And I can't believe people are really bitching about him putting on the coat. Oh, it looked cooler in the trailer. Shut your mouth. Like, anyway, Titan fans. But Eren putting on the coat to me was very much a like, oh, this is like his villain coat. This is my coat of villainy. And he's definitely becoming a villain. And there is, by the way, there is a world of difference between the words hero and protagonist and villain and antagonist. I don't know if I really felt like I'm upset because I put that poll out saying like who's the best protagonist of the season, and a lot of people are like, well, is Eren really a protagonist? Yeah, he is. He's one of the main protagonists. Yes, just because he's turned villain doesn't change anything. There's a lot of villain protagonists. There's a lot of hero antagonists. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't change anything. Eren can be villainous and still be the protagonist, and he very much is being villainous, right? Like the roles that he's taking have turned him basically kind of evil. And my big question is, like, and my biggest takeaway was, is Eren being manipulated or is he the manipulator, right? Because a lot of people in this week's episode say that Zeke must have gotten to him. Zeke got to Eren. Like Zeke, like Yelena talked to Eren and they must have met up with Zeke and now Zeke's in Eren's head. Is that the case? Or is Eren up to something? I'm going to assume by the amount of people who say, like, Eren is god tier in the last little bit of Titan, I have to assume that, again, just going off fandom craziness, that it's probably that Eren is the manipulator. That Eren's like, no, I'm going along with Zeke's plan because it benefits me. but I'm not going to be like 100% beholden to Zeke. Like, I don't know Zeke like that. right? Because again, like, if they try to be like, they're brothers, I'm like, yeah, and they did what together? What have they done brotherly together, at least that we've seen on screen so far? Like, they might have hung out, and maybe they played baseball, I don't know, but like, right now, all I've seen from them is that they've fought on opposite sides, and then Zeke turned traitor, and that's the last time that I really saw those two on screen together. So yeah, I can't say that I really think that Eren's just being played by Zeke. I feel like Zeke is not so much being played by Eren, but Eren's just going along with Zeke because it probably benefits him. Also want to say this before anybody mentions it. Yes, I saw Flock, because if you didn't know, in the old videos, I used to say that my least favorite characters, and I don't really have a reason for this. You know that there's some characters that you're just like, I don't know why that character bothers me, but they just bother me. I don't know why. Maybe it's the Seiyu, maybe it's the way they behave, maybe it's Maybelline, I don't know. But the two characters who always drive me insane in Titan, who I don't really have a reason for disliking, I just dislike them, outside of like Gabby, but I have a reason to dislike Gabby, and I have a reason to dislike Zeke, and I have a reason to dislike, say, like Reiner, right? But like, even though I have like a love-hate with Reiner, and I feel like I'm gonna end up, before the end of the show, have a love-hate with Gabby as well, because I have a feeling like they're really gonna, especially the preview for next week, I have a feeling like they're really gonna push Gabby into like a cool direction. Zeke is always just entertaining, but he killed my favorite character of all time, so he's gotta die. But Flock and Bert were the two characters who I always hated for whatever reason. I just don't like those two. And Bert's dead, so that's nice. So Flock being the one who I don't know if it's necessarily, like, it wasn't Flock who necessarily blew up the premiere, but like, he might as well have. Like, when he hands Eren like the thing, and he hands him the coat, and he's like, "We will follow you into the new Eldia." I'm like, Flock, shut up. just shut up. So many characters in Titan that I'm like, stop, shut up. And I get the irony, but just shut up. What else to say about this week's Titan episode? Well, I should say that it's sort of disappointing, but understandable, to see the group lose faith in Eren. That was sad. Like, Armin and Mikasa spend most of the episode trying to defend Eren. Right? And they're like, don't worry, Mikasa, like, Eren's gonna understand. Eren's gonna listen to us. He'll listen to us. He'll understand. He'll listen. I do think that he is doing this out of a concern and love for his friends. I still have to believe that. I have to believe that this is the biggest long con. This is like some Lelouch v Britannia crazy long con type situation, where he's like, I'm doing this for them, but they can't know that I'm doing this for them, because if they know, it's gonna throw the whole plan out of whack. They can't know yet. So I do feel like this is some Lelouch stuff, if only because I still remember that line of like, you have to save, like when what's his face is telling Grisha, like, you have to save Mikasa and Armin, and Grisha's like, who? What? Mikasa, Armin? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, whose memories were those? And I'm like, I'm wondering if maybe that's like something that Eren thinks of later, and like and he just remembers in that moment, right? He's just like, oh yeah, who are that? Like, I don't know, but I do think that maybe that's like a hint that it's like, no, this is still for Armin and Mikasa. It's just, Eren's maybe playing the long con. However, at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that Connie has completely given up on Eren, and again, it's hard to blame him. Jean seems to be somewhere in between. It seems like Jean's pretty much given up on Eren, but he still wants to believe, maybe a little bit more than Connie, maybe a little bit less. I don't know. Jean's a little hard to read in that scene. Not in a bad way, obviously. It's just, he's hiding his emotions. Hanji has seemingly lost faith in Eren. Anya Capone, who I feel Onion Capone, Jesus, Anya, seems to be sort of mixed in the middle. He seemed just as shocked that Yelena met up with Eren, and I do believe him because I like Anya, so I'm gonna give that man the benefit of the doubt. I like Yelena too, honestly. I like both of those characters, so yeah, I don't know, but a lot of the characters seem to be losing faith in Eren. We don't really know where his story is sitting with all this. I don't know who's she's gonna believe and whose side she's gonna fall on, but yeah, everything to do with like that group just kind of bummed me out. It was nice to see Hitch again, by the way. Just gonna say that offhanded because I don't have as much to say. I just really like Hitch. So seeing Hitch show up again and have that whole scene with Armin being like, I'm not being a perv, I swear. It's just like Titans can like see each other's memories if they touch. Like, I'm not trying to perv on Annie. And she's like, it's cool, dude. If you have a crush on Annie, like, it's totally cool. Like, and aren't you popular? You've been sleeping for so long and you have all these people. And I'm like, that's almost meta, because it's like, I also like Annie and she's been asleep since season 1. So it's like, yeah, that's very meta. Other things to mention about this week's episode. There's just one. And I want to zero in on this character because this dude has been so underrated to me for so long, and that's Pixis. Pixis has been one of the most underrated characters in the whole show for a long time to me. I feel like it's rare to see somebody mention Pixis as one of their faves or anything, mostly because Pixis hasn't gotten like big moments. However, every moment that he is on screen, he's just a badass. Like, he's not like a badass in the same way that, say, like Erwin is a badass or that Levi is a badass. It's more like he's a badass in like that sort of like old man, seen it all, been everywhere, kind of knows how to work people, right? Like, that's sort of like the badass he is. He's a badass like in terms of like a verbal badass. So seeing Pixis have the whole tea time with Yelena where he manages to like get her talking about how she did meet up with Eren and that whole scene. And then later, Pixis basically becoming the new premier, where they're like, listen, with the premier dead, like, you're the next in charge, so what do we do? And Pixis is like, listen, I hate to say it, we kind of have to team up with Eren. Which was heavy, right? Because it's like, it is a moment where you're like, Pixis, goddamn, like, you can't be serious. But he's like, think about it, like, they kind of have us over the coals here, and like, we can't risk falling apart right now. Not with the whole world knocking on the door. Like, we can't risk falling apart. We can, however, use Zeke as leverage, and even if it means choking back our pride and accepting and almost dismissing the Premier's death, then that's a thing we're gonna have to do. And Pixis does not look happy about it. But it's just the situation, right? It's just like the way, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And Pixis is a soldier, and he's like, all right, soldiers, like, this is what we do. We gotta bite the bullet on this one. We gotta be strong. We gotta figure out a way to move forward, and we gotta figure out a way to unify. Otherwise, we're dead. And Pixis in that moment to me was just a badass, and I wanted to give that man his proper respect. Pixis don't get no respect, and so I wanted to give that man his proper due, especially just the design. Pixis has always been cool, man. Like, just bald dude, like, mustache. He's just cool as hell. So I wanted to give him some proper credit. I will say, if anything happens to Pixis, I'm gonna be pissed, because honestly, like, the PV for this episode, right, from last week, I thought Pixis was the one who explodes in the building, and I was gonna be pissed because I love Pixis, and he did not come this far. That man did not survive the entire show, which still blows my mind. Every time I see Pixis, I'm like, Jesus, you're still around. Hell yeah, Pixis. But Pixis did not survive this long to blow up. You know what I mean? Like, hell no. The premiere was like, just whatever. Like, if it was Pixis, I would have been really upset. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just where I sit with the whole Pixis thing. I just think he's the man. As for next week, we see Peak. So we see Peak. We know Gabby and Falco are there. Something's going to happen. I don't know what the hell, but something's definitely going to happen. That said, that's basically all my thoughts of this week's episode. So, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AnnieTube know that you're here. And, of course, before we go, as always, I want to give a big, big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button. That gets you a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course, your name scrolling past the screen here. Or you could check out that Patreon link in the description. Either way, it is super, super appreciated. So once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. I hope I'm getting better at making these more or less editing intensive, just until my arm heals. It's doing better, if anybody's curious. So yeah. appreciate the well wishes. I should be back to normal soon, and these videos will be less scuffed. The thumbnails have been scuffed too. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but yeah, the thumbnails have been not looking as good as I wanted. But yeah, anyway, bye.